This wilderness is home to some of the coolest reptiles and amphibians. The Adirondacks are a unique set of mountains covering the upper part of New York State. These forests have impressive trees and rivers home to unique amphibians and reptiles. My search for these animals will span from west to east in order to cover as many reptiles and amphibians as possible. That's why I'm starting to look on this trail where I flipped some logs. Under a wooden board, I found this Allegheny Mountain dusky salamander. Unlike the northern dusky salamander I'm used to seeing, this salamander has a more cylindrical tail and sometimes possesses a chevron pattern down the back. This is the first time I found this cool salamander. Around the logs I was flipping, I kept finding American toads. These forests are perfect for these common toads. Toads make up a large group of frogs that don't possess teeth. Instead, they rely on a long tongue to grab insects and other invertebrates. Without teeth, toads have to swallow their prey whole. I found a variety of American toads, as one of them was even hiding in a tree hollow. Crossing the trail were a couple of eastern newts. These salamanders were a cool find, but I would soon discover that there were a lot more. Oftentimes, these salamanders were climbing up the mountain I was hiking on quite impressively. The next animal I found was crawling across the trail too. This snake seemed to have no problem with my phone being close to its head, even crawling towards me. The eastern garter snake is a predator to American toads, and depending on the circumstances, eastern newts too. As I continued, newts continued to be extremely frequent, probably crossing the trail due to previous rains. These salamanders are poisonous, and the bright coloration serves as a warning to any animal which considers eating them. The next place I chose to explore surrounded a beautiful pond where I found a couple of frogs. One of them was a mink frog, a new species for me. This frog looks similar to some of the other frogs I found in the pond, yet they can be identified by their colorfully contrasting dorsolateral folds, which they can possess or entirely lack. Other frogs in the pond included green frogs, water-dwelling frogs with more defined dorsolateral folds. As I sat around the pond on some rocks, I noticed something interesting in the water. These salamanders are eastern newts, the same species I saw crossing the trail. The aquatic form looks so different because of their life cycle. Like most salamanders, newts begin their lives underwater. Depending on environmental factors, newt larvae will either metamorphose onto land or stay aquatic. Here in the Adirondacks, eastern newts do change to a life on land. These salamanders will stay on land for a long time, a life phase known as the red F stage. After a few years, eastern newts start to become visibly duller and start to develop a paddle-shaped tail. This marks when an eastern newt will return into the water, where the red spots become more visible. Seeing this life cycle unfold before me was special, but it had more reptiles and amphibians to see. Next, I followed a trail leading towards a river where I hoped to see some unique species. Along the way, I saw a ton of eastern newts. These salamanders were easily the most common animal I saw hiking in the Adirondacks. As I approached the river, I saw another eastern garter snake. These harmless snakes rely on other factors to deter predators from eating them. This juvenile was too young to properly bite me, but still released a stinky smell, a byproduct of the snake's musk. After I arrived at the river, I started looking for some amphibians. A new species for the trip included this pickerel frog. Pickerel frogs are recognizable for their blotched patterning along their backs. Of course, the riverbed was also home to this tiny eastern newt, probably a salamander that recently metamorphosed onto land. Before heading east, I kayaked for a bit where I found this painted turtle, the only turtle I saw in the Adirondacks. Until now, I've found a lot of the cool reptiles and amphibians living in this mountain range, yet there are some other cool reptiles living in the Adirondacks too. The last place I explored was known for some special reptile species. On my final day in the Adirondacks, I decided to look for the timber rattlesnake. This snake used to be common before widespread hunting decimated local populations. For a while, I was searching for these animals without any luck. A lot of the time, I was finding more of the same American toads and eastern newts. However, both amphibian species were cool to see more of, and I was especially happy to see more before I left. Soon enough, I saw something darting in the leaf litter. This small lizard is the five-lined skink. I had no idea that these skinks lived here, but this area was apparently one of the northernmost regions where these lizards were present. It was awesome to see this quick lizard, but I had yet to see a rattlesnake. That's when, on the way down the mountain, I stumbled across a large black snake. This is the black phase of the timber rattlesnake, a venomous snake species but harmless from a distance. To say I was excited is an understatement.